Hey everyone, my name is Matthew, and I'm going to introduce to you the Spark Framework. Now, I built the Spark Framework as a tool for communicating with something, specifically an AI, or how do I work with AI? Now, for you may not be using it for that application, but in this literacy class, it's thinking through how do we then communicate effectively. So there are 5 pieces: simplicity, precision, adaptability, reinforcement, and knowledge. How do we look at the Spark Framework for us in this class or in this context? Well, if we're doing communication back and forth and using courseware or any content in general, I want to communicate that with someone. The first piece is saying, okay, well, how do I take my complex ideas and simplify them? How do I make them very clear and have no unambiguous language? I want to be very clear of what we're doing. The next thing is saying, well, how do I have more precision? How do I add more detail and specific instructions to what I want to do? Now, with the context of working with an AI tool, simplicity and precision are really your prompt or your instruction that starts the process. That's your first thing before you do any communicating back and forth. The next piece is adaptability. Now, when we think of adaptability is when we input our prompt or our instruction or even talking with someone, how they respond to us or how the AI responds to us is the adaptability. How do we then adapt our interactions to what that person says or to what someone gives back to us in the form of what the AI says? And the next piece is reinforcement. Then how do you take what the AI is giving you, adapt to it, and then reinforce back into, hey, I like this, or I don't like this, or I need these different things. The whole idea is that with simplicity, you're clarifying what you want. Precision, you're giving details for specificity and giving context. Adaptability and reinforcement are how you interact with the response and then feed it back into the conversation or the AI. And knowledge is in saying, how do I take everything that I have just learned and reapply it back into this conversation or this interaction, and then do that iterative process. The whole point is being clear, to give context and to remove any questions that the person or the AI may have by being as forthright and clear as you can at the beginning, to have valuable, meaningful interactions. So here's a hypothetical case study on how the Spark Framework could apply to a teacher crafting a lesson plan. So the context is a high school teacher, science teacher, Ms. Johnson, needs to create an engaging lesson on the water cycle for her students. And then how do we apply the Spark Framework? Well, simplicity is breaking down the goal. First, the task is to design a lesson plan on the water cycle. So the prompt for that task might be create a simple outline for a 45-minute lesson on the water cycle, including an introduction, main activity, and summary. The output, meaning, would be a basic structure with 3 parts, being an overview, on hands-on demonstration, and a discussion wrap-up. So once we've got that, precision is saying, well, then how do we add specific details to this? Well, the task is to refine the lesson plan's main activity now. The prompt to do that precision is design a hands-on activity where students can model the water cycle using everyday materials. Then, once we've gotten that information back, adaptability is adjusting based on the specific class needs. Because up to this point, we have developed a lesson plan that's 45 minutes long, and we've now been more specific with who the lesson plan's for and what the activities are. The next step is saying, well, who are the specific needs that we have, or what are the specific needs that we have that we can adapt this lesson plan for? So the challenge might be that some students struggle with abstract concepts. So how do we adapt to that with what we've been given? Well, the prompt might be explain the water cycle using relatable and everyday examples like rain filling puddles. Then, once we've gotten that output back, we're now reinforcing. You want to improve what we've done, improve the plan. The prompt might be suggest 3 open-ended questions to help students reflect on what they've learned about the water cycle. The end result is that we're going to incorporate our knowledge piece of the knowledge, where we incorporate this process through and apply this whole sequence of asking questions, clarifying, adapting, and being more specific to improve our plan with our future development of plans in general. Reflecting on what the Spark-driven approach was, Ms. Johnson went to AI, just said, hey, draft a lesson plan on the water cycle. Then she said, hey, let's add more specific details on, I want more hands-on activities for this piece of this lesson plan. And then she specifically said, hey, I have students who don't really understand this. Can you make the terms more relatable? And then she went through and said, hey, can we have open-ended questions at the end to reiterate and improve on this? And then at the very end of this, she said, hey, let's take all of this new knowledge and apply it back into our understanding of how we build lesson plans. So that's at a simple sense what the Spark framework is. Hopefully it was relatively clear. I look forward to you diving into it and playing with it and learning how it could apply to you in many various scenarios, but specifically in this class. And obviously stay connected, and if you have any questions, please let me know.